Does vitamin D help the immune system? Yes, it does. And in this video, we're going to look at some of the research papers on vitamin D and its role in helping prevent against infections and how it helps your overall immune health. So if you like this kind of information, click on the like button and subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this one. Does vitamin D help the immune system? Yes, vitamin D does seem to have a promoting or boosting on the immune system, and it seems to help the body respond to active infections like viruses, bacteria, and fungus, as well as help with modulating or evening out or balancing. Any of those ways would be a good way to say how it helps people with inflammation and autoimmunity. And we'll get into a little more details on that in just a second, but these are two different aspects of our immune system. One is called the innate immune system, and the other is the adaptive immune system. The innate immune system is a group of cells that initially will detect pathogens and other problematic proteins that our bodies might come in contact with. They're considered like the first line of defense in this group of cells. Consist of things like macrophages and monocytes. And these cells will basically engulf any potential pathogenic type of substance or actual pathogen, bacteria, virus, etc. It'll engulf it and digest it and present pieces of that pathogen or protein. It'll put it on its surface, and basically it's communicating with the other parts of the immune system what it's seeing. And so that's called presenting the antigen or antigen presenting. And the vitamin D seems to enhance that function of those macrophages and other cells. So it seems to enhance in the ability of the cells to find and actually engulf any pathogens or potential problem things that it may see. The net result of that is enhanced detection and removal of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. And I'll put some links to some research that where I got that concrete information. The effect of vitamin D on the adaptive immune system, which is like the producing antigens and T cells, killer T cells, T regulatory cells, etc., is less clear, partially because it's a little more complicated, basically. But overall, it does seem to have a modulating effect on the various arms or various aspects of the adaptive immune system. The adaptive immune system consists of things like the B cells, which produce antibodies, and the T cells, which are part of the isolating and killing of different pathogens and problems that are specifically identified by antibodies. Of the T cells, there's basically different lines of T cells that can be differentiated. So they start as like a basic T cell, and then the immune system, based on what it's seeing in the amount of different immune chemicals that are being produced, will differentiate into a different type of T cell. And vitamin D seems to help balance that out when there's like excessive amounts of autoimmune type of signals going on. The vitamin D can kind of dampen that effect through its effect on another type of T cell called a T regulatory cell. So it seems to boost up these T regulatory cells. Overall consensus on vitamin D's role in the adaptive immune response is not as clear, but it does seem to kind of help nullify any excessive inflammation and autoimmune activity that might be going on. Another interesting thing to note about the role of vitamin D in helping the immune system is its role on respiratory tract infections in general. So there's a few different studies over the years that have, multiple different studies that have tried to identify this and look at this. I looked at a review study that, basically review studies condense a lot of information into one. And looking at multiple studies on the role of vitamin D in preventing or reducing respiratory tract infections in general, it appears that, and this is a quote from one of those review studies, may represent a novel and safe indication for preventing respiratory tract infections. In addition, daily or weekly doses seem to be more efficient than pulse therapy. And I'll come back to what pulse therapy is. Finally, individuals with lower levels of vitamin D may benefit more from the supplementation. So basically they're saying pulse therapy would be like giving a really large dose 1 or 2 times versus that's not as good as giving daily doses or even weekly doses. So it's better to keep your vitamin D levels consistent over time versus just giving a big bolus. And of course, it makes sense that those with the lowest levels of vitamin D are probably going to benefit from this more than those with somewhat normal or even, optimal levels of vitamin D. Data on the therapeutic immune effects of vitamin D supplementation when vitamin D levels are already sufficient, or the data on that is lacking at this point. There does seem to be a benefit to vitamin D when your body does have more inflammation going on. Some of that vitamin D is going to get converted and used up quicker, so you may need to supplement with vitamin D more often, but you definitely don't want to overdo it with vitamin D. So just because you feel joint pain or something like that doesn't necessarily mean you have inflammation, but speaking more about high inflammation in the blood. But typically, if you have autoimmune disease, you will have high inflammation. But those things need to be verified, and you should be checking your vitamin D status. You wouldn't want to just go out and take a whole bunch of vitamin D on an ongoing basis because it can lead to other problems. But if you know you're low in vitamin D and get your vitamin D level checked regularly, it's very safe to supplement with and can be very helpful. It appears from multiple research studies and both in humans and test tube studies on how vitamin D affects different immune cells. Definitely seems like vitamin D has a beneficial effect in preventing colds, flus, and overall helping the immune system be more balanced. All right, so that's all I had on the role of vitamin D in your immune system health. If you like the video, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have a question about vitamin D or other supplements or burning health issues, please ask it in the comment section, and I may do a separate video on that particular topic. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.